can you make me a co-host on the other? Suhu, can you make me a co-host on the other?
This is why too many devices with the same name. Itulah. Okay. The first thing we recorded was, can you make me co-host on the other? All right. Okay, so we are here. Hi. I'm Facebook broadcast to which group? It will be on the MapTech group, Malaysia Association of Trainers and Coaches. Raj, may we have your team in, please? If you're here with us already, please identify yourselves if you're from HRDCorp so that I can make you co-host, and then you'll be allowed to share screen and all of that as well. If you're not yet with us, hey, please, we are waiting for you.
Hi, brother Suhu.
Hi, all right, man. Okay, I'm going to make you co-host so that we can get you up and going. There you go. And as the man of the hour, we are going to spotlight you for everyone. Yes. Okay, if you have any of your other team members who needs to be co-hosts because they're sharing screen, get them to send me a personal message in a chat so that I can add them. Otherwise, I won't be able to identify them. All right. Okay, so before we begin, let me very quickly introduce the presidents. I'm going to give them 1 minute to introduce themselves. We've got president of MapTech, Malaysian Association of Professional Trainers and Coaches, Sunil, on the line. We've got the president of MBTA, Malaysia Bumiputra Trainer Association, Azman, on the line. We've got MedPro, Dr. Kabur from Malaysia Association of Training Providers on the line as well. So maybe a very quick 1 minute to them to introduce himself, and then we will get started with the man of the hour. I will say not just man of the hour, he's probably the man of the month. You know, the most critical person for all of training industry to know in this month. If nobody knew you before this, now everybody will know. All right. So I'm going to invite Sunil first. You've got 1 minute to introduce yourself, and then we'll go to Azman and then Dr. Kabur. If there's any other presidents online, feel free to just send me a message so that I know you are here. I can invite you to share, and then after that we'll go to Raj. Sunil, over to you. You have 1 minute.
All right. A very, very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Raj, we are looking forward to hearing some good news that will ease the burden and, you know, make us feel a bit more, something that we could probably look forward to, which is supporting this initiative wholeheartedly, knowing that we have the bandwidth to manage it. So thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you, Sunil. Azman.
Hi, Raj. This is our several times that we're meeting up with you, and then we had a very good discussion the last time. We gave some good feedback as well. So I do hope that we hear some good news as well. The initiative is good. I mean, no one disagrees with it. It's just that so that we are able to support it in the capacity that we have. Okay. Thanks, Raj.
Thanks.
Thank you, Azman. Now over to Dr. Kabur. Dr. Kabur. Okay, then we're just going to move back to Raj then.
Sorry.
Thank
you, Mr. Su, and thank you, Raj. See, now what you are going to present to us seems to be a very hot topic among the trainers and the training providers. What is our concern, especially for the training providers? I'm not talking about trainers. So a lot of them very, very much concerned that this initiative is going to affect the training providers. So I hope that that's not the case. And that is one of the reasons why I'm here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Now I'm going to mute all and I'm going to allow only Raj to speak for now because there's just so many people and so many questions coming in. I told Raj, he was gung-ho. He's like, so we are going to answer all the questions. I said, no way you can do that because, you know, we got over 500 people sign up. I told him to cluster the questions and answer the questions in clusters. Now, any other question arising will be addressed to his team. He will give you access to his team via email so that you know where to send the email to, you know. And because you have like the head of this initiative on the line, please don't ask a question. I told him we shall not spend time answering all the nitty-gritty of how to fill up, what verb to use, which verb not to use. You know, we want to know from Raj like the big picture. Where is this gonna bring the whole industry forward? And this is a very good initiative. Like a lot of the presidents agree, a lot of the leaders agree. It's a good initiative. It's just that we have certain concerns, and I think Raj is here to address all those concerns as well. So I'm going to hand the floor over to you, Raj. By all means, I'm going to mute all first, and then I'm going to allow you to unmute. I'm going to unmute you. Okay, hold on. Raj. Okay. All right. I think you can unmute. Ready?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool, man. The floor is yours. I'm going to go and mute myself. I'll see you guys.
All right. Thanks a lot, Suhu, for organizing such a wonderful session. We didn't expect this much of people to come in, but of course, I think micro-credential has been the topic of the day, topic of the week, and it will be topic of the month. For those who are not attending any of our workshops, any of our briefing sessions, any of our engagement sessions, which has took place in the past, or which is going to take place in coming times, it will be a topic of the year for them because they are going to talk about it forever without understanding the actual gist and actual value of micro-credential that we intend to bring to our stakeholders. Right. Thanks, Suhu. Thanks for all the heads of the associations, Tan Sri, Dato, ladies and gentlemen who is in this session. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Raj. Full name is Ilaya Raj, Head of Program Review and Accreditation Department under HRDCorp. So basically, just to give you an intro, what does this department focus on? We are actually looking into the course reviewing of all HRDCorp registered courses. And also we are looking into the development, deployment, as well as the completion of all the HRDCorp micro-credential based courses, right? Of course, many of you would be wondering why now? Why now? Why micro-credential? And how it could benefit our stakeholders, right? Just allow me to give some overview. Why we actually went on to look into a mechanism such as micro-credential, first of all, to actually be mapped with all our existing offering, right? We within HRDCorp, existingly, we have almost 75,000 courses registered under HRDCorp claimable courses. And we have sufficient courses, we have sufficient training providers, we have sufficient training to support the landscape. But why do we need a new initiative now at this moment? There were a lot of questions raised. And I should mention this in the session also before I move on to my detailed presentation. There are a lot of speculation being made in the ground. There are a lot of misconception of what is micro-credential, how HRDCorp intends to initiate this initiative. And a lot of people are actually comparing HRDCorp micro-credential directly with the offering of universities. Do we need to do paperwork? Do we need to engage universities? Do we need to sign agreement with universities? Do we need to chase the universities to look into their programs, to map it, to submit to HRDCorp to recognize? No. Take out all these panic questions out from your head. So in today's session, have a very fresh mind to listen direct from me, what we intend to do, how we intend to do it, how we intend to support the market towards establishment of a better human capital in the nation, right? With that, can you, Vicky, share the slides, please? All right, HRDCorp Microcredential Initiative. As I mentioned, why now, right? Initially, in 2019, we have actually explored the term microcredential, and we did further benchmarking in terms of all the developed countries offering in terms of microcredential, what it is actually, how it is being implemented in most of the countries who have established microcredential way early. In Malaysia, we have only one entity with an established guideline on microcredential, which is Malaysian Qualification Agency, MQA, right, which is under the Ministry of Higher Education. So as we were exploring a method, of course, there will be a rationale why we need to explore into a mechanism of microcredential. For your information, ladies and gentlemen, in 2019 alone, I think most of the TPs, the training providers who are active with us, I would like to take the opportunity to thank you again, because you made our vision reachable through the amount of training places that we managed to achieve in year 2019, which is one of our proudest achievement of all. We have crossed the 1 million training places target in 2019, right? However, the shortcoming of this achievement is that out of the 1 million training places, less than 5% is certification programs, right? The remaining programs were purely certificate of attendance or certificate of completion provided by respective training providers to the learners. So what do the learners take back upon completion of a duration of a program? Certification, of course, just a paper. Of course, they bring the competency learned through the training programs to be practiced or to be trained back within their work environment. However, the certification that they obtain doesn't carry any value in terms of their lifelong journey pathway or to shape their career pathway. This is the actual fact. And this actually motivates us into looking into a mechanism where we will be able to add value to all the certificates which will be issued to our learners. All right. As you all are aware, our registered employers have enhanced. We have got more sectors covered under the HRDCorp PSMB Act. And with this, we have more responsibility to ensure the human capital development of the nation is protected, is given value, and is looked into in terms of a long-term value, in terms of how we could add the value to their training, learning, and development. And as I said, the current economy demands a continual, lifelong, and lifelong learning for all adults to remain employable, adaptable, as well as to be productive. Now more than ever, the job market has the urgency for the microcredential. Hence, this short learning chunks of courses, all our existing training programs, the skill set for professional requirement, and the qualification earned through the industry-specific courses, right? Please take note there. Industry-specific courses. All HRDCorp existing offering is somehow related to the industry-specific needs. Unlike the university offering are not purely catering to the industry-specific needs, right? The training providers are ahead of the market. right? And it is relevant for us to recognize all these short offerings by HRDCorp, by our registered training providers, which is currently categorized as informal learning to be converted into a formal learning, which carries some value. That's what we intend to do. So what is micro-credential within HRDCorp landscape? Next. Okay. We have defined micro-credential as the proof of learning outcome that a learner has acquired following a short learning experience, access against the knowledge, skills, and attitude domain. There is no one general definition or term to define micro-credential globally, right? Respective institution, respective organization, the European Consortium, and so on, they have their own micro-credential definition. However, during our benchmark of micro-credential with all this developed and enhanced micro-credential offering in the world, we have developed our own micro-credential framework, right? We didn't adapt a micro-credential offering from any other developed nation. We actually developed a customized, industry-specific micro-credential, which will fit into HRDCorp's current offering and current landscape. So that's why in the beginning of my briefing, I mentioned that take out all this conceptual micro-credential understanding on the requirements for you to have all the hassles, the paperwork, and so on. It is a very straightforward mechanism that we have developed. What we have done is we have developed a HRDCorp micro-credential framework. Next, Vicky. Right. This was the framework developed by HRDCorp, recognized by Malaysian Qualification Agency, as well as Department of Skills, right, JPK. So all our existing offering, if you are familiarized with the registration of the courses, currently we have 35 skill area under HRDCorp. This is where you will be selecting your courses according to the required skill area, right? There is not much significant effort needed on the left requirement, which is the skill area, where we have actually consolidated some of the skill area. We have restructured the skill area according to the current needs. The things like gig economy, the Industry Revolution 4.0, sustainability causes, and so on has been added to give a wide range of scope for training providers and employers to pick up the programs. So moving forward, all HRDCorp courses will revolve around these 24 skill areas, and training provider at the point of registering your micro-credential courses, you need to identify where your program fit into within these 24 skill areas. If it is not mapping into any of these skill area, we will of course provide an additional field where you can click others and fill in the skill area that you feel necessary. And based on that, we will evaluate and enhance our list of skill area accordingly from time to time. So this is just a general requirement. It's not specifically touching the micro-credential yet. The most important element of micro-credential is the middle part. Most of the seasoned training providers, trainers are very much aware. And those trainers who have attended HRDCorp TTT program is also aware. To develop a competency-based program, you required three main elements: the knowledge, skills, and attitude part. All right. Most of the trainings currently registered with the HRDCorp already have all these elements necessary: the knowledge domains, skill domains, attitude domains, the assessment of competency, all right, towards the end of the program or during the program, and so on. It has been already in practice, right? We are not going to ask something new, right? For those training providers, trainers who has been practicing, who has compacted your program with all these elements, then we are done. Your program is good to be registered under MIKAS for micro-credential acknowledgement, right? For those programs which still remains as an informal training program, not much structured, you may now raise your standard, raise your bar to get it structured, to have all these elements covered, because this is the elements which has been recognized by MQA and JPK. As long as your training program meets this requirement, the standards that we have specified in the middle, HRDCorp can acknowledge your program as micro-credential program, all right? And with that, all training conducted under HRDCorp, which carries the micro-credential tagging, will have the recognition towards academic qualification, skills qualification, as well as professional qualification. So without a framework, this would not be possible, right? As the custodian of Malaysia's training and development initiative, we at HRDCorp is always committed to staying ahead of the curves to ensure that all Malaysians can access the learning and development pathway, right? And micro-credential at the current stand is in line with the implementation of 12th Malaysia Plan, which is one of the core elements of 12th Malaysia Plan, is to provide sustainable development towards all working adults in Malaysia by ensuring lifelong learning. So this is important as we strive to make Malaysia a developed nation with diverse, dynamic, and dedicated talent as the core. So let's deep dive into the micro-credential. How does it work? So this is the micro-credential framework, the requirement of the course to be eligible to be micro-credentialized. Next, we will look into the micro-credential recognition. How does it work? Okay, our priority has always been the training providers, right? And we are trying to take much of the hassles. We doesn't want training providers to rush into universities to get their program mapped, to see and look into the mapping of course learning outcomes from standalone program point of view together with the accredited program point of view. No. What we intend to do here, if you have 10 programs readily available with you, readily registered under SBL, now we call it as HRDCorp claimable courses, all right? You can come back to our micro-credential landscape, which is micro-credential acknowledgement system, MIKAS. The same course you are going to register, but at this point of time, you will subscribe and submit a more holistic, complete competency-based courses in order for us to evaluate and acknowledge. Without this acknowledgement process, the formal qualification from higher education providers and skills certification from JPK will not be recognized, right? That is the reason we are required to get all programs to be registered under MIKAS in order for you to get the acknowledgement. As we are looking from the bigger picture, how does the standalone micro-credential courses can be mapped with skill accredited program and academic accredited program? If you look at the left, these are the type of providers, training providers existingly registered with HRDCorp. All our courses will be referred as standalone micro-credential courses. And the offering from accredited centers under JPK as well as higher education providers will be unbundled to become working activity or competency units. And this is where the mapping process takes place according to the skill area. So if a learner accumulate as much as standalone micro-credential courses through the utilization of levy under HRDCorp, at a point of time, he will be able to convert this micro-credential, the credit values earned by the learners, into a formal recognition in future. So that's the overall idea about it. End of the day, the value is given to the learners. to ensure his pathway is created to ensure lifelong learning to be continued. Right, next. Right, now let's look at the learner's pathway, how it is going to form a learner from where he is towards where we intend him to be. Right, just for the information, ladies and gentlemen, the World Economic Forum predicts that 42% of the core skills within existing jobs on average are expected to change. Not next year, not in 5 years' time. It's expected to change by this year. This is the report from World Economic Forum. And it is stated that lifelong learning and continuous retaining can help meet these evolving skill demands. And of course, learning alone, however, is not sufficient. Formal qualification, recognition, and credential-based learning are often seen as the marker of achievement and a reflection of a candidate's skills, capabilities, and fit for an organization. So, from the learner's perspective, we are looking at how a learner will enroll to credentials at a period of all these courses, right? And it's not, right, let me take a pause. I think the line is not very clear. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Can I continue? All right. So thanks. I think it's clearer now.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So let me take you slowly. All right. So this is where we intend to target how an individual learner for a period of time upon completing various programs under HRDCorp, and at a point of time, if they feel that they want to embark into a proper formal recognition, how they can do it. Because as per the MQA's guideline,
Raj, your line is breaking, Raj. We can't hear you.
hello, testing 1, 2, 3.
Yep, better now.
All right, allow me to switch off my video.
Yep, better.
All right, thanks. So we are looking at how we could ensure the career pathway of a learner. That's the sole intention of this entire implementation. Next, Vicky. Now let's come to the most important question, the implementation process flow, how it is being done. And does trainer or training provider need to do more works? Is it involving a lot of paperwork? Do you require to run to all the higher education providers in order to get your program recognized? The answer is no. HRDCorp is the one-stop solution center for all these questions raised. So as long as you are a registered training provider with us, you can now log on to MIKAS, the Microcredential Acknowledgement System, through our official portal, and then just register your program in MIKAS in order for us to issue the acknowledgement letter, right? Why it is important, right? Based on your questions earlier given to me, HRDF sudah ada SBL khas. Kita dah daftar semua program kita, mengapa nak kita daftar semula semua kursus kita? So all these questions, the answer is, in order for a program to get recognition of credit value, the acknowledgement letter is compulsory, right? So as all training providers are aware, in our current existing e-TRIS system, we won't be able to obtain much information required for us to actually review the courses and issue the acknowledgement letter. So to avoid the delay service level separate.
Raj, we can't hear you. Absolute silence right now.
Sorry, technical error, gangguan sementara. I think there is some issues on the side. Amen. Yep. Vicky, is it? Okay. All right.
All right, I'm back.
All right. Thank you so much. This is the power of communication on multiple channels. Sorry, Raj, line was down. So I've made Vicky co-host as well, so you can speak from there.
No worries, brother. Thanks a lot. Finally managed to climb the tree. I think the right tree. So just to continue from where I left, the most important part, the implementation of HRDCorp Microcredential initiative and the internal flow. So most of the things mentioned here is very familiar to our training landscape, especially training providers, on how we practice in terms of the course registration, training provider registration, as well as the grant application and all this process. The only element that we added in between all this process is the cost verification through MIKAS and also the cost acknowledgement, right? It is important for us to acknowledge the cost duly because the credit value acknowledgement by MQA or JPK is only accepted if official acknowledgement is issued, and this official acknowledgement will be reviewed by our internal team whether that particular course meets the requirement of HRDCorp microcredential framework or not. So these are the criteria that actually we zoom into when it comes to HRDCorp microcredential initiative. So another thing that we actually zoom into is the course registration. There were a lot of questions. We have already registered thousands of courses. We have already registered hundreds of courses under HRDCorp claimable courses as of now. Do we need to convert all of the courses again to MIKAS? The answer is yes. Eventually, you have to convert all, but not necessarily you have to do immediately. All right? That's the answer. Why? I will propose to training providers which have many courses to be converted. Just go to MIKAS, feel the system, get used to the system yourself. Just submit one course and get it approved. The rest of the course will just flow as usual and in a very simple structure. Because based on our experience from reviewing the first course and to date, training providers always have some limitation at the point of their very first submission. As soon as their first submission is approved, I have training providers who have already registered almost 50 courses by one training provider, and this was done within 2 days. So we can do that. And the process, we try to simplify as much as we can, because we do understand it is time consuming for us to implement something, and then we want to ensure that all training providers to meet the requirements and so on. However, the due diligence need to be taken care in order to provide the value to the learners. So that is our pure intention of introducing the MIKAS system. And of course, we won't be able to directly convert or integrate our existing E3s or MIKAS. It has to run on a 2 separate system as of now. So training providers, if you have courses, just try with one course, submit your course, get it acknowledged, because our service level agreement is that it only takes 3 days for us to review and come back to you on the approval, queries, and so on, right? Next, the HRDCorp Microcredential course exemption list. There were a lot of concerns in terms of the type of courses that HRDCorp or training providers currently offering with HRDCorp. How can I convert my team building courses into microcredential? How can a conference be qualified for microcredential? How can a curriculum or fieldwork activity being related to microcredential? Of course, the most basic requirement of a microcredential course is it has to be more than 7 hours, right? Plus some required independent learning time, which I will go through shortly with the participants here today. So any courses less than 7 hours, it's optional. You may convert your course into microcredential by meeting the 7 hours requirement. And if you intend to keep your program as half-day training program, you may remain it as a half-day training program, but you will miss out on a lot of benefits that a training provider is qualified under the micro-credential tagging. And of course, team building, coaching, mentoring, it depends on the purpose of that particular program. It has to be zoomed down into the course learning outcome of the respective courses. If the course learning outcome of all this program mentioned here, the 4 items, can be matched and mapped against the course learning outcome requirement according to the Bloom's taxonomy that we have provided in MIKAS system, we can consider this to be parked under microcredential. Or else, again, the flexibility is given to respective training providers for you to select whether you want it to be micro-credentialized or you want to run as it is under the category of HRDCorp claimable courses. So some flexibility is given here for respective training providers. So next, I would like to bring you to a tour. Let's look into the MIKAS system, the micro-credential course acknowledgement system. So this is the landing page of MIKAS. So the existing training provider, you may just directly log in using your current micro ID and password. right? At the point of landing, you may just update your company logo, the basic information of your companies, and you may straight away go for the new application on the left panel bar, right? It's not a sophisticated system. It's a very direct towards the outcome required. The outcome of this system is to ensure training provider submission is rewarded with approval and acknowledgement letter is issued to respective training provider. So we have new application tab here. If you click into this application, you may submit your application. We have application list. This is where you find all your previous submission, the status of your submitted application, whether it is being approved, queried, or rejected, the reasons. And for all those programs which has been approved, you can access back to your acknowledgement letter and micro-credential template in this application list, right? Next, let's look into the guidelines made available under the MIKAS. First, we have the user manual, right? This is a very straightforward manual for you to navigate within the system, which I think if you are familiar with the application and application list for once, then you won't access to this user manual at all. The most important element here is to look into the user guideline of course learning outcome formulation, the user guideline on Bloom's taxonomy and Malaysian qualification framework level, right? This is important. So for every courses being submitted under MIKAS, definitely your program existingly, you will have the course learning outcome, all right? But this guideline will ensure and support the formulation of CLO according to the levels required by MQF, all right? And the only changes that a training provider required to do is the verbs required to develop a competency-based CLO. Because as far as the subject matter is concerned, you are the experts, all right? The training providers are the experts, and the subject matters is relevant to the industry requirement, the current requirement of the industry, the current practice on the ground, all right? We are not going to evaluate the subject matter. We are not going to look into the course contents. We are purely here to identify the levels that your program is qualified for and the credit value your program be able to cater upon acknowledgement. So this is where the user guide for contact hours is very important. Let me zoom down into this a little bit more. So based on the contact hours guideline, as I mentioned, a minimum of 7 hours is required under the HRDCorp claimable contact hours, which is equivalent to a one-day training program, right? However, for this program to be eligible for micro-credential, you require 33 independent learning time. And of course, this is not claimable, ya. Jangan pandai-pandai nanti daftar khusus kata 40 notional hours saya dah capai 40 notional hours, saya nak claim untuk 40 jam. So you won't be able to do that. What you are qualified for is the 7 contact hours. And this is the data which will reflect on your acknowledgement letter as well as on during your submission of grant, right? So what is this 33 ILT hours? Pening pula. Apa benda 33 jam ILT ni? Apa saya kena buat? Macam-macam aktiviti ke saya kena buat? Macam-macam program ke saya kena buat? Saya kena follow up ke? Saya kena bagi quiz? Saya kena monitor ke? All this question has been raised in your Q&A that you have given to us. The 33 ILT hours is purely to qualify that program to be eligible to get 1 credit bearing, 1 credit value for the learners to take away upon completion of program. So how does this 33 hours work? Right? It can be any activities related to this training program, related to your course learning outcome. All right? At the point of the course submission, we have developed a structure where it is very interactive. You doesn't need to key in informations required. It's all work based on drop-down list. As you zoom into the summation of contact hours, you'll just click on the activity according to your modules. You will identify for this particular module, how many contact hours, let's say 2 contact hours, how many non-contact hours activity, the ILT, maybe 5 hours. So what are the 5 hours? So you can specify. Again, it's a drop-down list, consists of activities prior to training, during the training, after the contact hours, and after the training. So who will monitor all this? Right? There is a question. Who will monitor all this? All right? The responsibility lies in the shoulders of the learners. However, the course design should be complete in order for the learners to receive the materials required for them to read. So in this scenario, you may provide links as a reading material for learners prior to the training. You can provide them links to a video for them to go through prior to training. You can have brainstorming session, engagement session after the actual contact hours, a group activity session after the actual contact hours. Right? These are all small scale activities for shorter period of training hours, 1 to 3 days, 4 days. For longer period hours, after 6 days, maybe you will break the 6 days, not in a continuous session. In between, there could be some gaps and so on. So you can fill in with a lot of ILT hours in between, or you can get them to submit a comprehensive report upon completion of program. This is just a requirement to accommodate the credit hours. All right. Again, I would like to stress here, training providers are not required to evaluate thoroughly on the ILT. However, as I mentioned earlier, all micro-credential programs must consist of 3 competency elements: knowledge, skills, and attitude, plus embedded with assessment of the training, all right, competency-based assessment. That particular assessment is compulsory to be done by training provider. And that report will be updated to HRDCorp in order for us to generate the digital certification for the learners, right? So not to worry, if you have any further questions on the requirement of contact hours, the independent learning time, the credit value, we will conduct weekly workshop on how to get in and familiarize with the MIKAS requirement, to develop a competency-based micro-credential courses and so on a weekly basis. We will share the link with our brother Suhu shortly. Maybe he will just share to all the members who are here. You may just register yourself. We will coordinate this engagement session on weekly basis, and we will put you into any of this session in our coming this thing. All right. So with that, I would like to stress another important message. I think most of the association heads, as well as most of our training providers, are waiting for some good news from HRDCorp. Right. Of course, I have few news to be updated today. One, we are well aware on what is going on in the market. Right. We are well aware on what is being discussed, what is being speculated, what are the misconceptions within the markets, and so on. The Chief Executive of HRDCorp, Dato' Shaul Hamid, is well aware. He has also personally engaged some of the association heads, some of the training providers who contact him personally. He is aware of the needs to be done. And very soon, we will issue another updates on the implementation timeline. I think most likely by today or tomorrow, you will get that information through his official social media account, as well as HRDCorp social media account. On the other note is that I think most of the training providers are well aware of the focus area under HRDCorp. All right. And micro-credential is one of the focus area under HRDCorp in line with the RMK12 implementation. So for those training providers who able to convert their courses to be a micro-credential courses, get it acknowledged and made available to our registered employers to subscribe, you will definitely enjoy some enhanced allowable cost matrix fee as stipulated in the recent ACM circular, right? Because any courses endorsed by HRDCorp will be considered as priority area. So that is one good takeaway for trainers and training providers. On the other part, the most value carrying information through this implementation is definitely to the learners. And that is through the compilation of certificate and to have the accessibility towards a career pathway in terms of formal recognition. Why? Through micro-credential, there is no prerequisite. All right. For example, if a clerk or a junior technician in a skill-based environment has been a technician for 10, 20 years, only just because he holds a PMR certification or PT3 certification or SPM certification, he won't be able to grow up the ladder. But through micro-credential, he will be able to, by accumulating the credit bearings made available through the recognition of micro-credential. And this is where the value is being added to all informal learning registered under HRDCorp and to be offered to our registered training providers. So with that, I would like to thank everyone who is present today. More information will be given to you, as I mentioned. Mr. Suhu will take up all the questions and he will share some links, I believe. Suhu, up to you, brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for running this session for us. There's a lot of other questions that are coming in. I think that Sunil have earlier shared the email link. He's going to do that again. This call is also broadcasted live because I wasn't sure how many 100 people is going to show up. Luckily, we only got 400 over people here. We anticipate more will be asking a lot of questions. So I'm very certain they will email the questions to yourself. There are a few suggestions on having a common space where, you know, questions can be answered one time rather than multiple times. I leave that up to your team's discretion to do that. In the meantime, I just suddenly saw Adri Sharol's post message. We are not happy, Mr. Suhu. Well, we'll see what are the other questions that will come up from there. I also promise that it's going to be less than 1 hour, and you know, we are 10 minutes away. So can he take our questions? The answer is he did. There were questions allowed in the form to sign up. If questions were not put then I think we won't be able to take 400 over questions today. Please feel free to send the email to them to ask questions there. Sunil, can you just send the message again? I will save the chat and make it available on, you know, on MapTech FB group.
Yep.
Oh yeah, there was one question that a lot of people were asking. I kind of caught part of it. I heard a bit of good news about not necessarily registering our program for micro-credential before 1st of June. I wasn't sure whether it was the positive side and I'm selectively hearing it, or that's actually what I heard.
Right. Allow me to just clarify on that, Suhu. Right. I think most of the stakeholders was aware that launching was done, but most of them was not aware that micro-credential will be made compulsory from 1st June until the circular dated 5th April 2022, which mentioned effective 1st June 2022, only HRDCorp Microcredential will be considered for grant approval under HRDCorp claimable courses. This has actually caused some panics among the training providers. So I would like to just recap on what you have mentioned. Of course, as per the current circular, it is 1st June 2022 onwards. But of course, as I mentioned, Dato' Shahul is well aware of the needs from the market. He's aware on what should be announced soon. So
Okay.
definitely from 1st June onwards, Microcredential will go live.
Sure.
All right, because there are many training providers have officially converted their program to Microcredential. They have already started to register their courses and so on. So if there are employers who intend to take up Microcredential courses for the better value for the learners,
Sure.
they can go ahead.
Yep.
While it will not affect any training program that has been already submitted for grant prior to 1st June to run after 1st June. All right, it will just go on as it is. All right, it is not going to affect your current application. And moving forward, of course, as I mentioned, just wait for the good news later. Right, we will issue an official circular followed with the announcement which will come later.
Beautiful. Right. Thank you so much. Thank you all. And with that, I am going to end the call in 10 seconds. I'm going to allow and unmute by everyone to just kind of say bye-bye. You can try and squeeze your question in. Hopefully, Raj will be able to pick up on any question that you guys try to squeeze in. I'm going to allow participants to unmute themselves. We are going to sign off in 3 minutes. So you can unmute yourself and say goodbye to everyone. I'll see all of you in 3 minutes time. Or say bye-bye to you in 3 minutes time. Sorry.
Bye-bye.
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 Thanks.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Sue. Thank you so much.
See you all. See you all. Thank you.
Thank you too. Bye.
There will be various engagement sessions moving forward. Please join in any of the briefing, engagement, detailed workshop on MIKAS application. It will be very helpful for training providers to convert their program, right? And of course, the last thing is don't get confused with the terminology of are we moving from SBL to MIKAS? SBL is a scheme, MIKAS is a system. All right, and now we don't have SBL has. It's all HRDCorp claimable causes. All right, so let's stick to it. The understanding from our stakeholders is very important for us, because if not at the ground level, there are a lot of speculation, a lot of confusion. So training providers, please reach us. We are ready to serve. Right.
So
thanks a lot.
Which means the 2 days program and all that, we still just carry on, and they just go registered it under MIKAS, and that's it. Am I right?
Yes, correct. So when you register under MIKAS, just get familiarized with the system. When you register, you will be able to see how do you structure the program in order to optimize the qualification for credit value. With that, your course, whether it is a 1 day or 6 days or 2 days, will get the acknowledgement. With that acknowledgement, you come back to the HRDCorp landscape to register the course, and employers will be able to pick up the course, and the rest of the process remains same.
And what is the value of this 1 point or 2, whatever points? What is the value of this? What can they convert into what?
All right, as I presented earlier, individual learner upon accumulation of all this credit value, for example, if I am subscribing to all accounting program in a 5 years period, all this program upon accumulation, let's say I have 20 credit hours equivalent to a diploma level. I can go to any private or public institution in the country. With this 20 credit hours, I may need to take the remaining credit hours in order for me to obtain the diploma.
Oh, quick one. What about Bahasa Melayu courses?
Yes, any language courses also can be micro-credentialized, but it is still, we have to refer to the course learning outcome, because under the university offering, this could be mapped against the elective programs. So any programs, with the right CLOs and mapping of MQF, we will be able to micro-credentialize. In terms of convention of the recognition, it is depend on the offering of the universities, on the type of offering that a learner intend to choose.
All right, and it's 5 p.m. on the dot. I'll sign off now in 3, 2, 1. Goodbye, everybody.